Dare to join me on this journey through 4 haunted asylum stories that will send shivers down your spine. These aren't just ghost stories. They're real-life accounts of horror and the unknown. From whispers in empty halls to vengeful spirits, I'll take you into the darkness. But be warned, the things you'll hear tonight may never leave you. If you're new here, subscribe for more haunted explorations, and don't forget to share your own paranormal experiences in the comments. For now, take a deep breath, and let's begin. My night at Pennhurst Asylum. I never believed in ghosts until I spent a night at Pennhurst Asylum. It was October, and my friends, Mike and Sarah, thought it would be fun to explore the infamous hospital. It's just an old building, I told myself as we pulled into the gravel lot. The structure loomed like a silent monster, its broken windows reflecting the pale moonlight. Inside, the air was damp and heavy, the scent of mildew clinging to everything. Rusted gurneys and shattered patient files littered the halls. My flashlight barely cut through the darkness, and every step echoed unnervingly. Creepy, right? Mike grinned, holding up his camera. It's freezing, Sarah muttered, pulling her jacket tight. The whispers started almost immediately. Faint at first, like a conversation just out of earshot. Did you hear that? Mike asked. We nodded, the air growing colder as we moved deeper into the building. In one room, the temperature plummeted. My flashlight flickered, and a faint giggle broke the silence. Then we saw her, a little girl in a tattered dress standing in the corner. Her hollow eyes locked onto us, her form flickering like a dying light bulb. Who are you? Sarah whispered. The girl tilted her head, then vanished. The whispers returned, louder now. Help me, a woman's voice cried. Then, laughter, cold and cruel. We ran, but just as we reached the exit, I felt it. A freezing hand gripping my shoulder. I spun, but no one was there. Even now, I can't forget the way that girl stared at me, or the whispers that followed us. I'll never set foot in Pennhurst again. Would you? My night at Danvers State Hospital. Danvers State Hospital wasn't just infamous. It was legendary, the place where the lobotomy was perfected. My cousin Ethan had been obsessed with it for years. We have to go, he insisted one chilly October evening. I wasn't thrilled about it, but his excitement was contagious. The asylum loomed like a dark castle, its gothic spires piercing the night sky. Even from the parking lot, it radiated an eerie energy, as though it was alive and watching us. Inside, the air was suffocating, thick with mildew and decay. The long corridors seemed endless, lined with rusted wheelchairs and peeling paint. Ethan couldn't stop talking, rattling off every fact he'd ever learned about the place. Room 317 is where the weird stuff happens, he said, his voice almost reverent. The patients claimed they saw shadows here. When we entered room 317, I felt the air shift. It was colder inside, biting at my skin even through my jacket. Ethan set up his camera and voice recorder, determined to capture something. Then we heard it. A faint creaking, like footsteps on an old wooden floor. But this floor was concrete. Ethan froze, his eyes wide. The recorder crackled, picking up a soft whisper, too faint to understand. Did you hear that? He asked. I nodded, fear tightening my chest. The creaking grew louder, closer. My flashlight flickered, and my breath caught as I saw it. A shadow in the corner, darker than the darkness around it. It didn't move, but I could feel its gaze, heavy and cold. We need to go, I whispered. As we turned, the shadow shifted, and the recorder crackled again. This time, the voice was clear. You're not welcome. We ran, footsteps pounding down the hall, but I swear I heard another set chasing us. Outside, the air felt lighter, but the asylum loomed behind us, watching. A week later, Ethan called me, his voice shaking. The recorder, it said your name. I'll never return to Danvers. Would you? My night at Willow Creek Asylum. Willow Creek Asylum had a reputation that made even skeptics uneasy. Built in the early 1900s, it was abandoned after the violent death of a nurse at the hands of a patient known only as John Doe. My friend Jamie thought it would be the perfect spot for our next ghost hunt. I wasn't so sure. The asylum stood isolated in the woods, its crumbling exterior cloaked in darkness. Dead trees framed the building, and the wind howled like a warning as we approached. Inside, the air felt heavy, almost stifling. Our flashlights revealed long, empty corridors lined with rusted gurneys and shattered windows. The faint smell of mildew and decay clung to everything. "This place is giving me the creeps," I muttered. Jamie, ever the fearless explorer, grinned. "Isn't that the point?" We made our way to John Doe's room, marked by a faded number 13. Scratches covered the walls, some forming words, "Help me." Jamie began filming while I scanned the room. Suddenly, the temperature plummeted. My breath fogged, and a faint tapping echoed in the silence, like nails against the floor. "Do you hear that?" Jamie asked, her voice trembling. Before I could answer, the tapping stopped, replaced by a whisper, "Get out." My flashlight flickered, and that's when I saw it. A shadow standing in the corner, darker than the room itself. It was tall, jagged, and wrong, like it didn't belong in this world. "Who's there?" Jamie called. But the shadow didn't move. Then, the cell door slammed shut, and claw marks began to deepen on the walls, carving Leave Now as though unseen hands were gouging them. Jamie screamed, and I pounded on the door, desperate to escape. The shadow moved closer, and I could feel its presence. Cold, suffocating, and hateful. Finally, the door flew open, and we bolted. Outside, the asylum loomed silently, but I swear I saw the shadow in one of the windows, watching us leave. Later that night, Jamie reviewed the footage. She called me, her voice shaking. "The shadow whispered something," she said. "It said your name. I haven't been back since. Would you? Thank you for joining me on this terrifying journey through haunted asylums. Which story haunted you the most? Let me know in the comments below. If you're feeling brave, hit like, share, and subscribe. Because if you don't, the spirits might come looking for you next. Sleep well, if you can.